Hey, Jonathan here. Let's go ahead and create inner walls and stairs as we are learning modeling basics in Archicad. Let's do it. Alright, so using the file provided, let's go ahead on the view map, double click on the ground floor. Once in there, let's move over to the exercise 5.1 and make sure that the trace reference window is on. Now, as you can see, we're going to have the trace reference ready for you on the right side. And if it's not, feel free to drag it to in place. And now on the left side, you see the example that we're going to be modeling the inner walls. For that, we go to the toolbox. We start with the wall command. Here, we always start with generic interior wall, or you can just go straight for the favorite that we prepared for you. Keep going. We forget about the layer for now. Then we move on to the wall thickness. Make sure that the structure is simple. Then we keep moving right ways. The material is set to, it doesn't matter now, is it? Doesn't matter right now. The thickness, here we go. The thickness is going to be 0.17, which essentially we just measured from here. You can do it yourself if you hold down the M key, and then you can measure the thickness of the wall. 17, as you can see. We need to make sure that we get 90 centimeters away from the walls, so that the stairs are going to be properly done, the doors are going to be properly working. For that, there's a couple of ways to do this. I suggest for you to go into documents and basically just draw a polyline around the house. 1, 2, 3, double click. Then we have a polygon there. Make sure that the layer is set to construction lines or whatever it is that you can just later on just turn off. Then we wait for the pet palette and we say we want to offset that to 0.9. Enter. That way we know exactly what 0.9 is at all times. Let's start by, now let's go back to the wall command. Now that everything has been set properly, we start modeling. Here, one click all the way to the line and then all the way back and then going back up. Again, we try here, we change its side. Here we go all the way back here, and then we're going to have the same problem again. So escape to change command, alt to pick up the polyline that I did before, then click once and double click here to draw one of those lines. We click to select, command D to drag, and then we're going to drag it to 0.9 centimeters from the original wall. Now we also again have a line that we can work with. Then we go back to the wall. We start the wall using the smart track. We click once, intersection click twice. We go all the way down, click 3 times, and then we end the command. There. Very good. Now we can either select it and turn it off, or just select the construction lines and delete them. As you can see, the material is different. So now we make sure that all the materials are the same. This is generic ST00 generic structural, and here it should also be ST00 generic structural. And now everything is the same. If they're not connecting, don't panic, just try to push it all the way up. G, make sure that the lines are actually touching the original line. And then they would. Now here, we also make sure that the lines are on the same layer, or at least not in a layer with a different family. In this case, we definitely want to go to one of the original ones, which is interior walls, structural walls. So here, 2 things happened. First of all, we had one we were on a layer that has a different family, which is these numbers here. If they're on a different family, then they're not going to mix. And second one is that you always need to make sure that the blue lines of the walls are touching. That way they can connect. If they're not touching the blue lines, then they won't connect. So that's 2 things you need to be looking out for. Let's keep going, and now we're going to move on to the first floor on the project map and do the same, but from the other floor. And for that, we're going to look up for the top floor trace reference. We're going to drag the one that we're going to look for one that we need. For example, up here we have one. We're going to pick it up here and we're going to move it to the one we're working on. or just basically move on to number 2 here, where everything is set up for you already. But remember that the best way to do this exercise is to actually start with one house and copy and paste in it each and every exercise as you move forward. Here we're going to start the wall command again, and then we are going to start with this line here. This one here, you want to make sure that you are on top of the one below. For this, it's a good idea to also use another trace reference trick, which is below current story. It's right now it's outside of, let me show you. Here you can go below current story, you see? And now we're basically looking at what the story below is. We can also change its color to red. That way I know that the red is the floor that's below. And now I can basically, depending on what I want to do, but for now, all I want to know is where this line is. So I'm just going to set it up and have it ready. There it is. And now I can go back to the previous trace reference, but now knowing that the lila lines are the ones that I'm interested in for them to be on the proper spot. So now we go to the walls and we start by modeling this side here. And again, I want to make sure that I'm 90 centimeters away from the wall. 4.21 minus 90 centimeters, that would be 3.31. There, I can go sideways, change the reference location, and then click on the lila line, and then I change again the reference location. It's not letting me, so I do it one by one. Now again, I change the reference location, and I finish. Now we do the same on the other side. Let's go here with the wall tool. In this case, we want to make sure that we take the same line we took from the window. So I'm going to use the smart track. I click once to start my wall, and if I notice that it's on the wrong side of the reference line, then I change it. Here I go with a numerical value, double click, and then here again, here I could also go with center, and then use the middle line here all the way to the floor. Very good. Now again, I make sure that all of these things are on the same layer as the other one. So project variant structural bearing is definitely the one we want. So I'm going to select them. I'm going to select the walls that I want to change its layer to, and then structural bearing. And second is to have the right structural material, which is ST00 generic structural. Now that those two criteria are being met, and if they're still not mixing, what we need to do is to make sure that the blue lines are touching. Notice how this blue line is down here, the other one is up here. When I click on one, I can push it all the way to the other, and then it should connect. Here the same. In this case, I can even change the width of the window to match the one from the door. And then I'm going to move the wall blue line to match to the other blue line. That way they can connect. So you can see here they're also properly connecting because the blue line is always touching, even though it's sometimes at the other end of the wall. Here the same. And now we have the inner walls. Now there's another thing we need to check on the 3D window. Let's move on to the 3D window. Here we're going to go to the exercise 5.2, and if we go to the walls that we did and compare them to the example, this is the example. Notice how they go all the way up, and this is the one we did. Notice how it's not going all the way up. So for that, we basically need to intersect it with a roof and then do a solid element operation with it. So the quickest way to do this is to go back to the floor plan, select the walls in question. We're going to change its height to, you could either change the linked story or tell it you don't want it linked, but you just put here 8 meters high. And then when we go back to the 3D window, you'll see how the walls are now incredibly high, which is exactly what we need right now. And then we can select the walls. Then go into design, solid element operations and tell it we want those to be the target. Then we select the roof, and that should be the operator, and the operation should be subtraction with upward extrusion. We click execute. That way we should have exactly the walls as we have them in the example. Great. Now let's move on to the stairs. The stairs being the exercise 5.3, which is over here. Now we're going to model the stairs as it's modeled on the example. For that, we're going to go down to the ground floor first and see the stairs. It's a good thing that you have these example. And now we're going to start by stair tool. Remember to always start with the closest favorite you can find, and then just adjust everything. All right. If in this case you don't want to adjust everything with me, you can always go to the 3D Journey folder and double click on that favorite. I'll start with the concrete. Then I am going to start checking here what everything I need to change. For now, let's start with saying that I want no offset. I want 0, 0, no 10, 10 set from the floors. Then I also want them to be like this and like that. Go completely directly to the slab. The width should be 0.90 as we've been discussing in this video. Then we also want to make sure that we have 15 steps only, and the height between them is going to be 0.22. Now if it doesn't let you, okay, so let's keep that. Then stairs depth would be 25, so not by angle, by distance. So we're going to go with 22, 19 plus 4 would be 25, so no, the depth should be, so the going, we want to have it in 0.25, sorry. And then if this is 25, the other one is 22, then we should be ready to go. So now that we have set up everything from the stairs, I'm going to go and click once to start the stairs. Notice how you always get a ghosted version of it. Now the black lines are the ones that are actually being modeled. Click, and then I move the mouse downward all the way to the corner. Click, and then I'm going to move all the way to the side. Oh, I clicked the wrong spot. Let's go here, there, and then I go all the way to the end. Double click here, and the program should model the stairs for me. Good. Now, do not try to make the stair do exactly what you want unless you have the time for it, okay? So if it's not doing exactly what you want to model until you can, and the rest you do with the morph, unless you're already advanced, okay? If not, there's a big chance you're going to waste a lot of time in this, okay? So this is how stairs work, all right? So use them if you have normal, simple stairs at the beginning. If you do not, it's better to actually model it as a morph and do step-by-step, old school. Yes, because this command, it's actually extremely powerful. You do need to understand exactly how it works, which I'm not going to go into detail about that yet. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to go to export the STL. We're going to move on to the 5.4. We move into the 3D window. And here, essentially, what we want to do is to separate the 3 floors into separate models that we can then 3D print them. All right, so since this is parametric modeling, there's a couple of quirks about which model reacts to whom. So we're going to just tell you what to do and you'll realize everything that's going on. There's essentially 2 tricks right now. The first one is, as simple as it sounds, we're just going to select all the ground floor, selecting from left to right. That way I get all of those elements right there, and command drag, and I'm going to push them to the side 10 meters. Then you can see how now we have the floor plan, the ground floor, and the top floor. This one we can now then push upwards. All right. To better navigate, it's a good idea now to isolate everything with F4. Then, now that we have the ground floor on the side, we want to select all of it, right-click, and go Convert Selection to Morphs. If not, then the height and everything is going to still be a parametric element, and that's what we don't want. So now we're going to select that new morph that we just did. We're going to go up and snap it to the ground plate of the other house to make sure they're on the same level, which is always crucial for 3D printing. Then drag it sideways just a little bit. Great. Now we're going to do the same, but for the top floor. For this, I'm going to look all the way up like that. And now I can select. I'm going to select this one, and here we're going to use a separate trick. We're going to Alt Command D to drag or copy upwards. Let's drag it up 7 meters. To do this, we're going to first of all delete the slab that is below this one. Then we can select all of these walls, internal walls. And then move them up using the pad palette, basically lowering their height all the way to 0. And now we select the roof, and this construct we're going to convert it to morph, essentially breaking apart all of the parametric options and converting it into a very simple mesh. If weird things happen, basically you can just select them and delete them. Now we have the roof. The roof can be now moved to the ground floor, moved to. When we have it, we should be able to now push it down, Command D, and make sure that it is at the same level as its partner on the side, and then just separate it a little bit from each other. All right. Now, for the walls of the first floor, the first thing we need to do is to select the roof and delete it. Then again, we need to reselect all of the walls. And either intuitively lowering them to the original height or writing down up here in the parameters 2.5. Click OK. You can then, of course, also turn that to morph if you want to. But now that we have all of it, we can now select, isolate with F4, Shift Command S to save as. We say stereolithography, and we set the scale to 1 to 200. We click Save. And if you're on a Mac, you should be able to check this out right here. This one is ready to 3D print. Great. See you in the next one.